It's the 10th of July, and that's how things are going for Muscovites today.
Listen very carefully. This is quite possibly the absolute best story I have ever had the pleasure of telling you.
A raging hurricane is destroying Moscow, tearing off roofs, demolishing skyscrapers, toppling trees, wiping Muscovites out. From the face of the earth. Boom bada boom. And just look at what's happening. Just sitting here, really. Just look at what's going on and sing. Or even crawl, really. A yellow danger level has been declared in Moscow. Moscow is flooded. Hello, you can truly feel it, can't you? They are quite literally being swept away, completely and utterly removed from the very face of the earth, disappearing without a trace as if they were never there at all. It's a profound and undeniable sensation of being erased from existence. The wind is tearing up tents, Muscovites are screaming. Friends, please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Reign of the Happy, leave a few kind words in support of Ukraine in the comments, and also share where you're watching from. Like, comment, subscribe, and let's get started. Rain and hurricane winds are sweeping through the streets. Muscovites are trying to get to work by swimming. They're doing the breaststroke. Stores are getting flooded. What a sight! Don't stop, water! Offices are getting flooded. The Moscow metro is underwater. The elements are swallowing Moscow. Nature is delivering retribution for all the evil that Russia has caused. Muscovites are panicking, unable to get out of the metro. Drown, Moscow!
It looks like our home is in danger. This is already very strange. Look, part of the ground collapsed and the basement broke. It collapsed partly. Oh, help! And the passage to the basement broke under the break room and broke the passage underneath. And now all the water that's here in Moscow is going there. So, can anyone tell me who's doing this?
Tony!
Our house is old. It might not be able to withstand this at all.
Even the parking garages that have already been flooded can't hold up anymore. The hurricane is toppling skyscrapers, shattering windows, destroying Muscovites. A powerful force of nature has struck the capital of Mordor. And bingo, fires have started there.
I'm Toka. Arcades.
Just imagine. That's it. Fire. Burn, burn bright. So you don't go out.
But really, of course, no, they haven't actually put it out just yet, not at this particular moment.
They're pretty scared. Yeah, it's just bingo.
It's just bingo. Look at those truly huge, impressive, extensive, remarkably developed and fibrous roots. Just 3.
Enjoy. Moscow has been swallowed by the hurricane and the flood of the century. Moscow city is blown up. Roofs are destroyed. Muscovites are screaming. Unbelievable. The wind is raging. 18,000 Muscovites are left without power. What were they saying about death again? Uprooted trees, fallen cranes, torn off roofs. A massive hurricane, hail, and flood hit Moscow and the Moscow region.
Live report, a mix of events. Here is Leningradsky Prospect. Tatrata. Holy moly, this is a disaster.
And summer arrived in Moscow unexpectedly beautifully. Hurricanes, squally winds, Houses and roofs are being blown away. Skyscrapers are flooding. Panic and evacuation have begun in Moscow. Wind, rain, and hail have damaged hundreds of cars and infrastructure facilities. The elements have caused a traffic collapse. Buses, trams, and trolley buses stopped running in Moscow, and a tree fell onto the tracks of one of the Moscow metro lines.
A mega downpour with hail and possibly tornadoes hit Moscow today in the capital of Russia.
The Ministry of Emergency Situations did not warn Muscovites about how dangerous this would be. It is possible that Moscow will go underwater. This looks more like a hurricane and a human fatality. Strong winds are tearing down billboards, the roofs of Moscow buildings, and toppling trees. Trees have destroyed skyscrapers and cars due to falling, and there are injured people. Muscovites are in a panic. The hurricane is destroying roofs and shattering windows. Muscovites are screaming as their tents are blown away. Hurricanes are raging in Moscow and the Moscow region. An orange alert level has been declared there. Nature is returning all the evil to Russia like a boomerang with this weather hazard. The promised tornadoes have been recorded in Lobnya and the Moscow region. A squally wind with rain has hit. A thunderstorm warning is in effect. And the orange danger level has been declared.
In the bustling metropolis of Moscow, a series of unsettling and dramatic events unfolded, characterized by distinct and alarming sounds. There was a resounding boom boom, a deep percussive sound that echoed through the urban canyons, perhaps indicative of distant thunder, structural shifts, or even some form of explosive activity. This was immediately followed by a pervasive splash, a sound of immense displacement of water. To all observers that these phenomena were not isolated incidents, but rather harbingers of a much larger, more catastrophic event. The prevailing sentiment was one of impending doom, a chilling realization that the very foundations of Moscow were compromised, leading to the dire prediction that the city itself was destined to sink, to be submerged forever beneath the rising waters or collapsing earth. This grim prognosis loomed large over the city's inhabitants. Concurrently, and perhaps contributing to this dire situation, specific districts within Moscow began to experience an exceptionally heavy and relentless downpour of rain. This was not merely a typical shower, but a deluge, with sheets of water cascading from the sky, rapidly accumulating on surfaces, overwhelming drainage systems, and transforming familiar streets into turbulent waterways. The intensity of this rainfall only served to exacerbate the already precarious situation, adding to the sense of urgency and the growing fear that Moscow's fate was sealed, destined to be lost to the elements and the forces of nature.
Residents of the capital have also posted videos of hail. Stones from the sky are destroying Russians. According to the Yandex weather map, a squally downpour and hurricane are moving through the southwest, south of the capital, the city center, and the northeast.
At this precise moment in time, we find ourselves situated in this very location, a place of significant importance and presence.
Just take a good look at this, just truly see what an incredibly strong wind there was. It completely bent all the trees, bending them significantly.
Into them, glory. The bustling city is currently paving a brand new road, a significant development. Got it perfectly understood. Look, by touch,
That's it, fire.
across the lawn.
Retribution, or more precisely, just punishment for those who are behind all this is inevitable. And we, as civilized people, at that moment will negotiate with them about how they prefer to stand against the wall, with their eyes blindfolded or on their knees, facing the wall, or bravely looking straight into the barrel. So here are three options that in the end we'll have to negotiate with them about. We, as human people, will grant them the right to choose as their last wish.
And why doesn't what happened on the Crimean Bridge evoke any particular emotions in you? But if we strike the Kyiv Dam, you get upset every time. But if Ukraine strikes the Crimean Bridge, what's stopping us? Look, I
personally don't post all these things. It's not that I'm happy about it. I understand that this is, but I
am thinking logically.
Vladimir Rudolfovich, you're not thinking logically, because I read what the experts say. This was sabotage, but it didn't even cause any real damage to the Crimean Bridge. But if it could have, and you talk about the Kyiv Dam there, tens of thousands of people would have died, at the very least. Let me remind you, that was sabotage, but this would be a terrorist attack. These are different things. Vasily
Ilyich, excuse me, I want to remind you that the previous act of sabotage on the Crimean Bridge resulted in people being killed. Moreover, it was only by a stroke of luck that the passing train nearby didn't derail, because that was exactly the plan. I'm not
arguing with you, because what happens, even if I cover, I won't teach all.
Blowing up the dam would result in people dying.
What do you think would happen if the Kyiv Dam were blown up?
Yes, that's right.
Yes, but wait, right there?
No, wait a moment. Please listen carefully to what I have to say.
The water would potentially flood half of the entire Kyiv region. Civilians would undoubtedly die, and in very large numbers indeed at that.
Just a minute. When the Ukro-Nazis blew up the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant dam, I don't recall anyone being particularly upset about it.
Look,
I was there. I saw all of this with my own eyes.
And people died.
So what, did the world community really react strongly? Look, do you get it? How many strikes hit there? They deliberately pounded it with HIMARS. And just think how much money was spent on those HIMARS to bring down that dam. And so what?
I'm all for punishing those terrorists who... Absolutely. But I'm against calling for revenge. Let's not cross the line, Oreshnikov. Or go and blow up the dam in Kyiv or in SKI.
So are you suggesting that during the Great Patriotic War, we should have remembered Berlin? Here, Shari writes that the videos coming from there are being filmed by conscripts. So is it okay to shoot that conscript? Just take that scum out and shoot him in front of the formation like a traitor to the motherland who is now simply working in the interests of the enemy. You can't do that. Our laws don't allow it. We're humanists, after all. We can't even scold him. Come on, really? Although in the army he's not supposed to have a phone, right? But that's not allowed. But everyone has one anyway, even though he understands there's responsibility. What kind of responsibility? Disciplinary? Under which article could he be charged? Vladimir Petrovich?
Now, it has become known that the warehouse where these drones were assembled, Andrei, do you know where it was located? In Chelyabinsk. In Chelyabinsk. So, the entire territory of Russia was within the scope of the Ukrainian Special Security Services operations. I don't know, but they're definitely going to make movies and write books about this operation.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
And that's why Vladimir, the inspection has just taken place. Yes, the regions have started to implement something, but it's very important to maintain this attention, this coordination, this support and training. And I strongly ask for your decision to transform the all-Russian inspection, which you were tasked to conduct, into the all-Russian Family Assistance Service.
Hello! You are watching Channel 1 Live, the program Time Will Tell, and Artyom Shenin, as always at this hour, will bring you the most important and most relevant news. Today is the 2nd of June, and the news of the 2nd of June is just news that outshines all other news, if only because they are so important, interesting, and all-encompassing. So what about the news from the 1st of June? Against this backdrop, there's really no need to discuss it anymore, because the news from the 1st of June stat was yesterday. So for anyone who's interested, the news from the 1st of June stat, I wrote a lot about it yesterday on my Telegram channel. If you're interested, check it out, read the news and see what I think about it. But since that was yesterday, and today is the 2nd of June, and today is Istanbul, so we'll be discussing the 2nd of June in Istanbul. Because, well, you all understand why. That's it.
So that when a Gurovets or an FSB agent or a recruited agent gets behind the wheel of a heavy truck and drives to a military airfield from the vehicle he's driving, drones were launched, and it's important that he perceives such a trip not as a journey to buy bagels at a Russian fair, but as a one-way road. He needs to understand that when he gets arrested, he won't be sent to a detention center where he'll get some medical care, read books, rest, eat well, and then return home with medals and decorations after the next prisoner exchange. Instead, he'll be executed. Or better yet, hanged. That's how it should be. And there's no need to liquidate them during the arrest, I insist on that. That's too easy. There should be a trial, an investigation, and a very brief one at that. We can introduce a simplified form of criminal proceedings and the death penalty by hanging. And that's right, and that's good, and it will change the rules of the game. There's no need to listen to the chairman of the Constitutional Court who tells us fairy tales about liberal values, about Europeans, about how the world will be offended, about how it's all so complicated, about how hard it is to change these laws. None of that is necessary. A presidential decree. We end the moratorium. And as part of this decree, we draft a decree of the President of the Russian Federation on urgent measures in the fight against banditry, terrorism, and sabotage. And then we introduce simplified procedures, detention for 30 days without trial. We detain, put the person in a cell, and carry out operational measures with them. By the way, this will be very useful when it comes to migration issues. And most importantly, is the death penalty, simplified criminal proceedings, and hanging. That's it. And then a lot of things will change.
With all due respect to Azerbaijan, its history and traditions, if Russia so much as raises an eyebrow for a second, we are, after all, Azerbaijan's third largest trading partner. And I want to remind you of the amount of money that is sent from Russia to Azerbaijan, not from Azerbaijan to Russia. And then, apparently, the situation could change dramatically. Is that what they're counting on? Or, considering the 300 kilometers of border and seeing what they're allowing themselves to say and watching what they're allowed to say on national television, do you want to go to war? I'm sure that not a single person in their right mind living in Azerbaijan would go that far in their foolishness.
There are, all sorts of considerations, all sorts of circumstances, internal considerations, internal politics, but I'm not talking about our internal politics. I'm talking about our neighbors. Well, it's sad, it's unfortunate. Sad and unfortunate. Where will this lead? Nowhere good. At the very least, to serious economic losses. Especially when Russia holds, as in the case of Azerbaijan, the third place in terms of trade turnover. And as you understand, what we supply to Azerbaijan is certainly not oil and gas, but let's say products with higher added value. That's all there is to it. That's the whole picture.
If Russia so much as raises an eyebrow for a moment, after all, we are Azerbaijan's third largest trading partner. And I'd like to remind you of the amount of money transferred from Russia to Azerbaijan, not the other way around. Or consider the 300 kilometers of shared border. And reading what some allow themselves to say and seeing what is said on central television, though you want to go to war, some countries have already had problems because of this. They naively thought they could get away with it and then bitterly regretted it. That's why I believe that the activities of British and Turkish intelligence services on the territory of Azerbaijan aimed at destabilization will ultimately lead to only one thing: unimaginable losses and tragedy for the sensible people of Azerbaijan.
I thought, well, maybe I really am missing something. Maybe I don't know the region's history well enough. So I went and looked for the history of the Great Azerbaijan, which was supposedly interrupted by the military intervention of the Russian Empire. I couldn't find it. There was no Azerbaijan. And in fact, I couldn't even find such an ethnicity as Azerbaijani. That is, this ethnic group that we now know as Azerbaijanis, with all due respect. The essence of it all was also invented by the Soviet authorities.
Give this a like. Subscribe to my channel, Dasha Schastliva. We work for a global audience so people know the truth about Russian aggression and war against Ukraine. Every like, every comment, every subscription helps ensure that as many people as possible around the world see this video. Stay with us, stay on the bright side. Friends, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. We will definitely win.